Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And we're joined live now by Steuben County Republican Chairman Joe Sempolinski. Always good having you on, Joe.
It's always a pleasure, Brian. I love coming on your show. We always have a good time, and I was going to talk about the issues of the day and what's happening in the political world and elsewhere.
Well, you were, over the weekend, you were with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and State Senator Tom O'Mara and Mark Molinaro's running mate, Lieutenant Governor candidate, Republican Julie Killian of Westchester County. Where were you, in Corning?
We were in Corning, and then she moved up to Yates County, and I went to one of those stops up there as well. And I've been very impressed by the statewide ticket, because every so often I get a phone call from the Molinaro campaign or one of the others saying, we're coming, we want to come to Steuben County. We just had Mark in the Hornell area a few weeks ago. He's been in Corning since he was a presumptive nominee. Julie was now in Corning, along with Phil and Tom and myself. We were taking her around Market Street, meeting some of the small business owners, hearing about their concerns about how tough it is to do business in New York State. That was one of the things she said to me when I first met her, as she's been doing these campaign stops. That's the consistent theme. Tough to do business in New York, tough to create jobs, tough to keep young people here when there aren't those jobs. That's something I think Mark and Julie will do a lot better than Andrew Cuomo about. But then we're going to have the state controller nominee is going to be coming through the area in early to mid-September. And so we've got a lot of attention for Steuben County from the statewide Republican ticket. I've been very impressed. There's a lot of area to cover. Obviously, we're running statewide, tens of millions of people to try and learn about their issues. And the issues are very different in Hornell or Corning or Bath than maybe they are in other parts of the state. But our Republican team is really making the effort to get out there and engage the voters.
Joe Sempolinski, you mentioned that doing business for business owners in New York State is difficult to do. One of the reasons they say that is because of regulations. Wondering, is deregulation by Trump helping New York State at all, or are the state regulations for business still tough to deal with?
Well, I was just talking actually yesterday with some of my in-laws who were business owners, and that was the thing they cited was deregulation from the Trump campaign, or for the Trump administration, as being something that was positive for their business environment. Now, we always have it tougher, Brian, in New York, because whatever happens in Washington affects the whole country, be good, be bad. But we live under this blanket of high taxes, high regulation in New York State, and a lot of times it's either just because of the policies are very liberal, or perhaps they were set up because it was going to be something that was effective downstate, but is not effective or counterproductive upstate. And that, oftentimes, even if there is a positive thing going on nationally, the poor policies come out of Albany can mitigate or be counter to those positive things coming out of Washington. That's why we need a new governor come November. Mark Molinaro is the guy to do it. He's somebody that's coming at this with fresh ideas, saying we can do things more efficiently, we can think differently about government, and still be a state that is helpful to people when they're down, but there's going to be a lot less people down if they have a job. There's going to be a lot less people down if businesses are doing well. And the problem we've had in upstate New York is somebody grows up in one of the greatest places you could ever want to grow up, wants to stay there, raise their family, finds they can't have a good-paying job to do it. That business environment has to change. It has to change now. We can't afford another 4 years of Andrew Cuomo.
We're talking live on our phone line this morning with Steuben County GOP Chairman Joe Sempolinski. Joe, you've got some county races coming up in the September primary, which is coming along just a couple of weeks. Let's see, county races. The big one is the McCarthy Watches race for Steuben County Judge. Yeah,
so that primary is going to be, remember, I want all your listeners to remember also the primary is on Thursday. this year. It's Thursday the 13th.
Yeah, because of September 11th, which is a Tuesday. Normally they do it on a Tuesday, but because of the 9/11 remembrance, they're doing it Thursday. Am I correct there?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so also I believe it's a Jewish holiday. There's a lot of Jewish voters downstate. They wanted to get it off of the 11th for a couple different reasons, just to make it so everybody has an opportunity to participate and vote. And then we also have an opportunity to remember, and this is especially important, the lives that were lost on September 11th, 2001. So it's going to be a Thursday primary. I don't want anybody to miss it or anything because it's going to be on a Thursday. But I'm actually very happy. We have a primary for county judge, and we had 2 new county judges elected last year. The third of the 3 that we have at the county levels we elected this year. We have 2 very qualified candidates. Chauncey Watches is a Bathtown judge. Matt McCarthy is a Corning City judge. They both are running very positive, very vigorous campaigns, getting out there to all portions of this very large county. Steuben County is about the size of Rhode Island. There's a lot of communities to get to and a lot of ground to cover. Both these gentlemen, who are both very qualified for this position, have been really covering that turf. I see their signs all around. I see them. I've been in contact with both of them over the course of this, giving the best advice I can. And whoever wins that primary on September 13th will be the next county judge, in my opinion. There are some minor party primaries. Let's see how those work out. But in this county, whoever wins that Republican line is going to be probably the next judge. And I look forward to supporting whoever wins that primary. Both good men, both qualified. And that's how you like to see a primary, Brian, where they're going out there, they're stating their case, they're playing clean and fair and hard, and we're going to have an opportunity for the voters, the people of the Republican Party of this county, to decide who's going to represent them wearing that robe for the next 10 years. So that's how we like to do it when we can, when we have multiple qualified candidates. Let the people decide as opposed to party bosses like myself.
And speaking of party bosses, I did want to get a little bit off topic for just a moment. Wondering if you have a sense from being in the loop with the other Republican chairman, how things are going up in the Buffalo area in the search to replace Congressman Chris Collins.
Yeah, in this region of the state, all of us Republican chairmen are friends. We go to each other's events, we talk. So I am friendly with several of the folks that are having to make that decision. I know there's a couple things going on. One is trying to find the best, easiest legal mechanism for Chris to get off the ballot. Obviously, this indictment came at a very late date, and the closer you get to the election, the tougher it is for somebody to be removed from the ballot by the different legal procedures. And I know they're looking at residency, they're looking at other offices for which he could be nominated. Now, the problem there is many of those nomination processes have already happened. And the ones that have not are mostly judge positions. Chris Collins is not an attorney, so he wouldn't be eligible for those. So they're trying to figure that out. That's the first big thing. And then second, they're trying to figure out which candidate it's going to be. And the good thing there is they have a lot of good candidates. And you have a couple of I think 3 state senators from the region, 2 assembly members, a couple county legislators, a couple of folks who are not elected officials, or one who's not an elected official, Mr. Palladino, and then a county official, Stefan Mikhailu, for the county controller of Erie County. So I think it was 9 candidates. They started out at about 15, and as this is sort of played out, there have been people that have gotten out of the race thinking perhaps it wasn't a good fit for them, or they weren't going to get the support.
Yeah, Pat Gallivan, the state senator from northern Livingston County, was one of those who dropped out.
Correct. Yeah, he was one that I think I was a little surprised by that, to be honest, because a lot of people were tossing that name around, and I know Pat a little bit because when I used to work for Congressman Reed, and he was first elected to the Senate, there was a little bit of overlap between the congressional districts and that state Senate district. They currently do not overlap, but Pat Gallivan's a great guy, former law enforcement officer, widely respected. So I thought if he had run, he would have been one of these.
That would have been an easy win. I think the Republicans are kind of sorry that Pat Gallivan stepped away.
He would have been somebody that would have gotten a good long look, and he had a lot of upside. Now, I respect him wanting to focus on what he's doing at the state level, and he's doing a good job there, and I have a lot of respect for Senator Gallivan. So it's been interesting sort of watching it as sort of the next-door neighbor. Steuben County is all in Tom Reed's district. None of it is in Chris Collins' district, but we do all know each other. I know the Ontario County chairwoman very well. I know the Erie County chairman, Mr. Langworthy, pretty well, and a couple of the others are acquaintances of mine. I know Chairman Rylick very well, who's got Monroe County. So I know these people, and they're going to make a good decision. They're going to pick somebody who is going to represent that district and the value to that district, and is going to win in November and make sure that there's not another foot soldier for Nancy Pelosi for her agenda.
We're talking live this morning with Steuben County Republican Chairman Joe Sempolinski. Going to take a quick break, then check the weather, then we'll get back to the topic of the Steuben County races. They're going to be on the Thursday, September 13th primary.
AM 1480 WLEA broadcasts local sports. We couldn't do it without the help of our local sponsors. Thank you to the Ryan Agency, the Sports Fanatic, Steuben Trust Company, Wegmans, Perks Auto Care, Cornell Gardens, and University of Rochester, and Dr. Adrian Ashdown's office.
Checking in now with meteorologist Rob Carroll. Rob, how many years does it take to go to meteorology school? Is that 4 years or 2?
It's 4, if you can get through the math. I went to school with people that took a little bit longer.
Yeah, how'd you do?
Did okay. I was a transfer student. I was pre-med at the University of Buffalo for a year, so I kind of missed out on some of the freshman year classes and had to spend an extra 6 months learning those. But
really? You were almost a doctor?
no, I wasn't almost a doctor. I made it through a year's worth. Yep, not doing a whole lot better doing that than neurosurgery. Yeah, I wasn't willing to wait the 4 years through residency and the 4 years through medical school. Here I am now forecasting the weather and keeping an eye on some showers and thunderstorms moving across western New York this morning, Brian. They're associated with a big complex of storms that are drifting across the Great Lakes region. That's going to help send our humidity up the next couple of days and keep us at risk for some storms. We're going to see a lot of cloudiness this morning. There will be some showers and storms moving through. Sun will peak out every so often later. Today we're up to 85. Sunrise this morning was at 6:31. It'll set tonight at 7:52. We'll turn partly cloudy, warm, humid overnight, 70. Tomorrow, sunshine, lots of heat and humidity. We're up to 85 to 90. Clear tomorrow night, close to 70. Sunshine's back Wednesday. There could be some showers and storms yet again. Still hot and humid for late August, 85 to 90. And it looks like after Thursday, temperatures start to cool off. Should be much more comfortable as we head towards the Labor Day weekend, Brian.
And we're back with Steuben County Republican Chairman Joe Sempolinski. We're talking about the races in the upcoming Thursday, September 13th primary. Now, State Senator Tom O'Mara doesn't have any Republican opposition, but he does have 2 Democrat opponents, Amanda Kerskesner from Tompkins County and Mike LaSalle. What county is LaSalle from? Do you know that, Joe?
I believe he's from Schuyler County.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that race plays out, and then the winner will have to face off State Senator Tom O'Mara. And another race that we have, the state race that has some the local voters will weigh in on, will be the Assemblyman Joe Arrigo Marjorie Burns race.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting race. I've endorsed Joe Arrigo. I've been very impressed with the amount of attention that he has given to Steuben County. Steuben County is the smallest chunk of the 3 counties that make up that district. We're about 17-18% of that particular assembly district, but you wouldn't know it based on how Joe pays attention to the issues of concern for people in Hornell, the Hornell area, Wayland, Cohocton, Prattsburg, Danville, all the different areas in Steuben County. that he represents. So I'm very proud to be supporting Joe. And it's not just me. The Steuben County Republican Committee as a whole unanimously endorsed Joe. The Hornell City Republican Committee endorsed Joe. And the Monroe County Republicans have endorsed Joe at the other end of the district. So it's not just a Steuben County thing. Joe's experienced. Joe is doing a great job as far as really paying attention to the local issues of concern to people in Steuben County, and because of that, I'm happy to support him in this primary. But I would encourage everybody who's a Republican to get out and vote on the 13th, and I would strongly encourage them when they do vote to vote to keep Joe. He's doing a good job, and he's got the experience that we really need in Albany. Albany's a wacky, complicated place, and he's able to navigate that to the benefit of the people of Steuben County and his entire district.
Talking with Steuben County GOP Chairman Joe Sempolinski. Okay, so we covered the state senate, we covered the other county races. Did we cover the McCarthy Watches race there in the beginning?
Yeah, we talked a little.
Yeah, we did. What are there any other races that local voters will be voting on Thursday, September 13th primary?
There are some statewide Democrat primaries. Obviously, Andrew Cuomo has a primary with Cynthia Nixon, and there is also a primary for Attorney General, a four-way primary for the Democrats for Attorney General. The Republicans have their candidate, Mr. Wofford, a very experienced lawyer from outside of the political quagmire, from downstate, but he is from Buffalo originally. He lives downstate now, but he was born in the Buffalo area. And so we're unified on our ticket statewide. We don't have these type of primary problems. We were able to come to some pretty good consensus at our convention, but Democrats not so much. They have governor primary, they have lieutenant governor primary, attorney general primary. So there's a little bit of disunity and confusion and problems on the left.
Yeah, that's a good observation, Joe. Do you have any sense? From what the polls say, the governor's race looks like it's going to go to Andrew Cuomo. How about that state attorney general's race with Zephyr Teachout and half a dozen others, many of them from downstate? Do you have a sense on who's going to pull that one off?
I'm not totally sure on that, to be perfectly honest, but that could be very unpredictable. Where you have one of them is a sitting member of Congress, one of them is a citywide official in New York City. She's sort of got the Democrat establishment support, but then you have Zephyr Teachout, who ran against the governor in his primary 4 years ago. That's going to be, I think, unpredictable, and it's going to be when you have a four-way primary. Anytime you get past two, it becomes very difficult to predict because it's not as if, I don't like this guy, so I got to vote for the other guy. You can go to third way or a fourth way. So I'm not sure. And then as far as the governor's concerned, I think Joe Crowley probably thought he was going to be safe in his primary too, and he was not. So
So you think that the polls could be wrong on that one in the governor's race, because the polls have Cynthia Nixon way behind, but you think that could be wrong?
My supposition, Brian, would be that it'll be closer than the polls. There's no doubt in my mind it'll be closer than what the polls say, because I think there's a lot of energy. And then also, what is going to be interesting going into the general election is the governor has lurched so dramatically to the left. I mean, this is a guy that now says America was never great. That's insane. And he's lurching so far to the left to appease a very fringe constituency in the Democratic Party, not even the mainstream of the Democrats, very fringe Democratic constituency. He's opening himself up for Mullen-Auer to beat him in November. And for somebody like the governor to say America was never great, Brian, 90+% of people that have ever lived on this planet that lived under a thug or a dictator of some kind, be it in the ancient world, medieval times, in our modern world under fascism and communism. And this country has been the biggest hope for freedom in human history. And for somebody like the governor, for crass political reasons, to say America isn't great is shocking and offensive. And I would hope that if you're a Democrat primary voter, you vote for Cynthia Nixon because of that, and come general election day, you vote for Mark Molinaro because of that.
Joe Sempolinski, back to the Cynthia Nixon race. I find it very interesting that you say that. I was reading one Democrat, a longtime political consultant's editorial out of Albany and one of the media outlets there. And he said one of the interesting things about this race is Governor Cuomo started out with an anti-union bias. Then he realized his mistake on that and tried to come around on it. But while the union leaders are giving Cuomo their endorsement, a lot of the union members seem to like Cynthia Nixon. Do you think, and there's the teacher vote in New York State is very big, as you know. Do you think that could make a difference in the Cuomo-Nixon race?
Yeah, I think so. When I talk to rank and file type people in a variety of unions, be they teachers unions, public unions, certainly trades unions, they are not big fans of the governor. I don't run into a lot of rank and file union people that are big fans of the governor. Now, they may be not fans of the governor for different reasons. They may be not fans of the governor toward a Cynthia Nixon type candidate, or they may be not friends of the governor toward a Mark Molinaro type candidate. But the governor has not been somebody over his time in office who has been warm and fuzzy and winning friends. That's just not how he does business. I wish it was. It's not. And there's going to be people that are going to say, hey, you haven't stood up for the issues that I'm concerned about, or you have pandered to me, or you have put these flops when it's just based on who's running against you. That may bear some fruit for Ms. Nixon, and I'm certainly hoping and praying it bears fruit for County Executive Mark Molinaro in November.
We're out of time. Republican County Chairman for Steuben County, Joe Sempolinski, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. I love coming on.